All right, everybody, we have an episode of Hockey Royalty, the official podcast of hockeyroyalty.com. Today, we have a very special episode, a little crossover with the Hockey Podcast Network, the BarnBurner Hockey Podcast. How you doing, boys?
Doing real good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
No problem. We'll get into the questions here, but let's get this. All right, big game tonight, boys. Big game tonight.
Putting it lightly.
I know the two top teams in the Pacific battling it out in LA this time. Good road trip for the Kings, taking 5 out of 6, coming for that first place spot. You guys got a couple games in hand, but it seems like playoff hockey on this road trip.
Absolutely, yeah. These darn LA Kings, they keep surprising us, and I think before the season, our podcast, we kind of said, I don't know if we see them making the playoffs, but if they make the playoffs, it's not going to surprise us. And they've definitely exceeded our expectations. That's for sure.
Yeah, more or less. I don't know. Did I even give them that much credit to say that they might make the playoffs? I wouldn't be surprised. I think I'm more surprised to see, kind of the steps that collectively that young group has taken. And yeah, they scare the piss out of me, but definitely not looking forward to seeing that down the stretch, especially how tight it is in the standings. Like, what, you guys are only 3 points back. We got 3 games in hand, but still, like, I don't know. Flames are on a bit of a skid here, so we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah, 3 points back, and then we got Edmonton 1 point behind us. Definitely going to come down to the stretch. You got to get a lot of 2-0 wins, especially since you're facing the Pacific. You can't let people get those 3-point games. I didn't really think the Flames were going to be in first place. So you guys have had a really crazy season as well. And so let's get going into that. Starting off with, a guy that has fixed both the culture in both of our organizations in Sutter. Talk about for you guys how that came about, because we all know the change that he made leading to a cup. How did that change? How's that culture change for you guys? And were you guys a fan of the signing, when it first happened?
Well, James definitely he's got some choice nicknames, or had some choice nicknames for Daryl Sutter when the signing happened. I'll let him talk about that a little bit after me here. But yeah, you know what? Looking back at it last year, we knew that it wasn't going well under Jeff Ward, and he was not destined to be a starting our head coach in the NHL, I don't think. And looking back at that system and the line juggling and the combinations he would put out to, like, night after night, just changing things, it was pretty easy to kind of fall in love with the return of Daryl Sutter, because you were getting a very well regimented and structured system that was coming in. And I think the best thing too is you know what Daryl Sutter expects, and you guys know it just as well as he expects greatness, right? He doesn't take anything less than he expects you to be your best night in and night out. And even talking with some of the guys who play for him, we've had a couple guys on our show, and he outlines what he wants, and you never feel like you don't know what Daryl Sutter expects from you. And I think that's something that the Calgary Flames have been missing or lacking for some time in their coaching department there. But overall, happy with the way it ended up, because his system is just something that every player in that dressing room has grasped onto and hasn't let go of.
Yeah, for me, the first couple days there, I followed the hype. I wrote an article and compared the Flames to the LA Kings in 2012 as a team that was on the brink, and then they went on this big run. Obviously, the Flames missed the playoffs last year, but they kind of went on a bit of a tough streak to end the year. Wasn't a big fan of Sutter because the Flames had just recycled so many coaches, and I just thought, all right, here we go with another one. But he has definitely surpassed my expectations. He's proved me wrong in pretty much every aspect. So yeah, just an incredible turnaround under Daryl Sutter. I think both me and Auddie predicted the Flames to be the third best team in this division. So the fact they're first right now is outstanding.
Kiffin, why don't you talk about that year that he first came in for the Kings and maybe the similar sentiments that our boys over the border there are talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge Daryl Sutter fan. I loved every minute of him coaching the Kings. When they hired him, I thought great. He goes back to Calgary. It always seemed like when he was with the Kings, he talked a lot about like unfinished business, and after the loss to Tampa Bay. So it is really cool to see him behind the bench. One of the things that I noticed, especially with this season, I feel like last season you kind of have to throw out a little bit. It was kind of getting used to it, and they didn't have all the preseason. But like the possession numbers look exactly like the Kings, and like that's been one of the greatest things to see because again, as a fan of Daryl Sutter, I just like seeing the system. Seeing Calgary cut through the middle of the ice with pressure, with poise, and with those real good short passes is phenomenal. The emergence of Andrew Mangiapane, Oliver Shillington, like these are guys who are clearly buying into the system and who benefit from it. Looking back at 2012, that was Dwight King, Jordan Nolan, the same guys. Dude, honestly, I think Calgary, has a really good shot to being objective at really making a deep run. And whoever put, whatever in Markstrom's head that he just had to shut everybody out, like that. That's got to be when you get world-class goaltending with this kind of system that works with these guys who are buying into it. There's no stopping you. So it's just like I said, it's nice to see. It's nice to see the pressure going up. And again, there are some things that Calgary is able to do that LA wasn't. Y'all have superstar players, Brady Tkachuk, Sean Monahan, all that. Like we weren't able to control play like that because we had Kopitar, but that was kind of about it. Carter showed up, but it wasn't perfect. So
yeah, you guys see any similarities between our 2012 team and your team right now that is drawing comparisons on your end?
I think definitely, as to what Kiffin just said, with possession numbers, and like I'm a big analytics guy, so in looking at Sutter's past coaching history, his teams have always been insanely good at any metric, really. Like we had Jay Fresh from Jay Fresh Hockey on, and he said like part of the reason he got into analytics was to understand Daryl Sutter teams because they were so outworldly and they just like it's hard to explain. Like he has a certain way of doing things and it works so well.
Yeah, no, I would echo everything that James just said. I think the most impressive part about it all is turning players like Johnny Gaudreau specifically into 200-foot like complete players, defensively responsible, and pitching in on the back check and stuff like that. It's something we haven't seen from players like that. And then all of a sudden Daryl Sutter comes in, and you wouldn't expect anything less because Daryl Sutter teams are so defensively responsible, in addition to so many other things. But all of a sudden Johnny Gaudreau, who's probably going to have one of the best years of his career, like production wise offensively, is also gaining recognition for playing a more complete game, and definitely getting some recognition too for people are considering him for the heart. So yeah, it's nice to see. It's nice to see. It's almost unbelievable to see just what he could do to turn things completely around from what it was under Jeff Ward.
Well, another thing that you get with Daryl Sutter is a man of little words when it comes to the press conferences. He has plenty of gems when he was in LA. I know you guys have only had a season and a half of this, but what have been some of your favorite moments as far as the post game gems that he gives?
Most recently, Eric Goodbranson, one of our defensemen, I think he bit through his tongue or something, so he was gone for about half an hour, and then Sutter just goes, well, I don't know what these doctors are doing. I could have done it in 5 minutes. That's what I do with the cows or whatever. Just like, his quotes are so funny.
Just a good Viking Alberta boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of my favorites. It's simple, but it's like it's just so Daryl Sutter because it's exactly what he wants and exactly what he stands for. Someone asked him what he was like most impressed about or something like that, And he goes, W's. That's what I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? Me too. Like, I guess that's something that him and I have in common.
Yeah, the one thing, the game on, the last game that we played against you guys, and he goes, so what do you think about this game? He goes, we lost in a shootout. Like that with his hand, like he just drops his hand.
Yeah.
Like, next question.
Yeah.
Just cracks
but
me up.
but like he also, like, every media member just respects the living hell out of him. Like they don't take it as any. They know it's Daryl Sutter. Like they're not taking it for anything less than it's just Daryl being Daryl.
Yeah, I think the important thing that he does with those post games is that he really makes it clear. I remember there was a post game in LA that he talked about. He said it's just a game. At the end of the day, you're not dying. It's just a game. And like that's why I think they respect him so much, is that like he just has that mentality of like this is fun. Like we all get to play this great sport. Brandon stole my mind from this season, but I have one in the chamber that is absolutely my favorite Daryl Sutter quote, which is with his time in LA, where they're like, oh, you're getting late to the rink. He's like, yeah, I lost my glasses. I had to go to Costco. I got three for $40.
Oh, never changed, Daryl.
Yeah,
Never changed.
So good.
So he's established cultures here, leading to a couple of the top lines for you guys this year. If you're looking at, Flames have some of the top 10 and goals expected, with Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau accounting for over 800 minutes on the ice together. What makes that line so effective, and how does that really blossom? You mentioned Gaudreau's name already, and how does that really blossom under this new system with those guys?
So I think a lot of Flames fans liked Elias Lindholm, but he really came into his own this year. He's received, Selke love and stuff this year, which is warranted. And I mean, if we're talking kind of NHL 22 mechanics, you have Tkachuk, who's your stereotypical power forward, right? I know you guys in LA, especially Drew Doughty, despise Matthew Tkachuk, and we in Calgary absolutely love him every time he does literally anything. And then you have that, two-way forward in Elias Lindholm, who also has such a great and underrated shot, plus Gaudreau, who is, for my money, one of, if not the best playmakers in the entire NHL. So just, it's been such a fascinating line to watch this year. And literally every time they take the ice, I kind of get up in my seat, because it seems like something always happens when they're out there.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Before I go any further, I'll preface, I know this is a Kings show, so I'll get a little bit of this out of the way.
It's a crossover, man. That's what
No,
we're doing.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one though. I've got to be the only dude in Calgary, or possibly the only dude who covers this team who actually loves the absolute crap out of Drew Doughty. I grew up in Guelph, Ontario, so I used to watch him play a boatload when he was with the Storm in the OHL. So he's always going to hold a special place in my heart. But to the topic of the best lines in the NHL, yes, the Gaudreau, Tkachuk, Lindholm line. Yeah, basically everything James said is hitting the nail on the head. I know I sound like a broken record. He's just so smart, that James Johnson over there. But yeah, no, it's I don't know. You want to talk about defensive responsibility too? Like all three of those guys, like they don't get as many defensive zone starts, but when the puck goes the other way, they're doing everything they can to back check. And I know Elias Lindholm gets a lot of love for in the Selke conversation here, but I think the same could be said for Matthew Tkachuk, who might be better defensively. I don't know if I've looked at the analytics as closely recently, James, but I'm fairly certain Matthew Tkachuk is up there as well. And you know what? It's something that Flames fans have been calling for a while, to get these three together. Even last year, I remember it being such a sigh of relief when they finally took Gaudreau off of Monahan's line. This is something that Jeff Ward loved to beat into everybody's brain, is that Gaudreau must play with Sean Monahan. And I think the best thing for Johnny Gaudreau was getting off of Sean Monahan's wing. And, it's sorry, just reading that comment there. But yeah, it's definitely. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
But, the defensive responsibility of that top line, and the fact that all three of those guys can finish. I'll leave it with that.
Yeah, for all of you guys listening tomorrow or this, we put up a quote from CJ here. He said, we do just like Tkachuk, but we would take him in a minute. And I think it's the same thing with Brad Marchand and all those guys, like the rat style guys. You do like them when they're on a team, and then you can't stand them when you're playing against them. But I think it's brought a lot of passion to the games between teams that aren't traditionally rivals, which or at least lately. And so I think it's something that is definitely needed in the game of hockey. A little bit more attitude, a little bit more spice, and it definitely chalked up those games against our clubs there. Another line that you guys have that's in the top 10 is the Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman line. It's a little bit more recent. What has that line brought to your guys' franchise? Obviously, Kiffin mentioned the surgence of Mangiapane this year. What has that line meant to you guys, and how does it bring a different flavor to when you guys roll them out?
Yeah, like Andrew Mangiapane has been such an incredible story. We just had Michael Backlund on, who is such a good two-way forward, and Blake Coleman, obviously, everybody knows how insanely good defensively and on the forecheck and all that stuff. Like the Tampa Bay Lightning don't win a cup without Blake Coleman, plain and simple. So he's been such a great addition to this Flames team. It's not something we see a lot where we get US free agents that want to sign in Calgary. So it was such a good ad, and he's now playing with, I think it's Yarncroke and Dubé.
Yeah.
So they've moved him down with the addition of Tyler Toffoli, but that just shows you that Calgary's forward group has so much depth and so many options that have worked well with each other.
Yeah, that and depth and flexibility too. The ability to move, seemingly move guys up and down the lineup, but not disturb too much. If that makes sense, you're not really messing up too much chemistry. If you want to talk about chemistry and familiarity, because most of these guys have at some point played with each other, whether it be last year or this year. But yeah, now that that Michael Backlund, we talk about expected goals. They were fantastic. They have shuffled it up since then, and now it's playing more of a shutdown role. They're getting a lot of defensive zone starts, which is probably good. They're not necessarily going to light up the score sheet every single night, but they're doing what they can in their own end to get that puck up the ice and get that top line back over the boards to start some generating some offense. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you talk about two lines that have been dominant all year in expected goals, both coming from the Calgary Flames. Just another nod to what James said about the depth that this team does have just up and down the lineup. It's nice to see for once. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, we've had our share of a guy that's been up and down the lineup in Trevor Moore, or Thousand Oaks negative trade of Trevor Moore. You can't really say his name without mentioning where he's from in LA. But their line with Deneau and Moore is 9th in expected goals. And it's just been the model for the Kings as well this year, putting a lot of shots on net, creating a lot of chances, and trying to score from the crease, whether it be on rebounds or in scrums and everything like that. And so it's just been a revelation for us. And I didn't really think Trevor Moore was a second line player, but it just shows how good Deneau is, having his best season ever as a pro, and coming in, and just anybody who plays with him is doing well. Kempe, Victor Arvidsson and everything like that. And so where the Kings have been pretty much carried by Kopitar for the last 4 years, or pretty much his entire career, we're rolling 4 lines every single game. Lizotte is out right now, but that fourth line with him, Lemieux and Kaliev, is one of the best lines that we have. And once they get all healthy, it'll be something great there. But I think the depth is shown as well. Like you guys said, I mean, over 10 injuries, and we've still kept second place. We actually gained a point on Edmonton in the month of March, even though we had 10 injuries on our team. And so it was just something, it's been a revelation with Deneau and those types of guys, and playing that kind of possession hockey and really relying on the system to be effective.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that scares me the most about the Kings is the fact that they play such a, like, I don't want to say Calgary-like game, but a Daryl Sutter, like, that system never really left. Like, it's still, generating shot opportunities and just getting things to the nets and finishing from there. So I think that's what scares me the most about the Kings. That and the fact that, like you mentioned, 10 injuries and you're still gaining points on Edmonton. I don't know. Scares me a little bit.
Yeah, we're talking about that Moore, Deneau, and Victor Arvidsson line. What has that brought to the Kings, in your opinion?
I would say speed. I would say transition. One of the things that I see the most from them is transition into the forecheck. They're able to turn the play back the right way. That's something definitely after Sutter left and in the rebuild that the Kings have gone through. That's something that we lost. Is sort of, we were always backing off, and then with the nice line, I guess is what they're called. They're able to turn it around and really push the play back into the offensive zone. Like that's what's gotten them so many points, is that they don't give up. And that's one thing that you see throughout the Kings lineup this year with all the injuries. I mean, 10 guys going down. There's no quit. There's no ability, it seems, in that locker room to say, well, guys, we're just having a bad game. There's no stopping them. And like that's what I see. I mean, it's what I see out of the Flames too. I mean, and you guys are absolutely right. That's the remnants of the Daryl Sutter system. You're not out of the game. It's not whether you win or lose, it's whether you're winning or losing.
It's been great. I mean, you have Dursey, who stepped up. You have had Jordan Spence, a lot of these young D-men playing over 20 minutes a night. And I think we've had the youngest D core in the league this year for this month. And so it's just been crazy how Kings fans have been like, oh, like the best prospect pool in hockey. But then you see guys like Zagris, outproduce Turcotte, and all these guys are like, when are we going to get that chance to come? And it's shown, with the Dursey, Spence, the Champagne line with Byfield, Kupari, and Velarde there has been really nice for us. And so it's been functional. And then we've been being able to roll out 2 goalies, which will go into our next topic with between the pipes. Both of our teams wouldn't be here this year without key goaltending at certain points, if not all the season. You guys are riding one horse, it seems, with Markstrom, and we've been going back and forth. Talk about his improvement this year and what you've seen out of him and how he's carried the team, if anybody wants to start with that.
I'll let Auddie start this time.
Sure, yeah. It's all good. The Jacob Markstrom emergence, I think this is something that Flames fans were waiting for, maybe not waiting for, but what Flames fans expected when Jacob Markstrom came to Calgary. During his time as a Canuck, I think that he was underappreciated outside of the market, like outside of Vancouver. I think he was underappreciated and maybe a little bit underrated. Without Jacob Markstrom, there's absolutely zero compete in that Vancouver Canucks team from the past 3 years. But now, this year he just wants to keep playing too. He wants every single start. He's been lights out. He's come up with key saves at key moments, and he keeps the guys in it. And I think that's easy to rally around too. And I think that might be one of the reasons why offensively we see so much firepower there too, just because they rally around the big moments, and Markey really does keep them in. I would say maybe they're playing him a bit too much. I wouldn't mind seeing Vladar step up a little bit and get some more starts, but we know that Daryl Sutter's going to ride his guy. You guys saw it with Quick too. Daryl Sutter, when he likes his guy, he's going to ride with his guy unless he says otherwise. So not surprised to see him get as many starts as he has lately. But again, also not surprised to see him produce the way he has either.
Yeah, you're looking at 54 games started, 31-14 with a 2.19 and a 9.24 save percentage there. What have you seen as well?
Yeah, like I'm a big Markstrom guy. Got his jersey literally right there. So I got that the day they signed him and his number got released.
James was the first Calgary Flames fan with a Markstrom jersey.
It's true. So just such a good guy. And I think like Calgary doesn't have a captain, but I think Jacob Markstrom is their captain, if we're being honest, because what he's done this year has been incredible. As Auddie said, he's been played a lot, and that's something of concern with Jacob Markstrom is injuries. He has a career of injuries. So I would like to see Dan Vladar played a little more, especially while they're on the road trip and the remaining schedule isn't the hardest. So yeah, Markstrom, incredible. Like the thing that just comes to my mind right now is in that 9-5 Edmonton game, like Calgary wasn't going to win that game, but Markstrom makes a massive save, and then Elias Lindholm goes the other way and scores. And I don't know if the Flames win that game if Markstrom doesn't make that save.
Kiffin, what do you think about Markstrom and how obviously we know how much a goalie can be important with winning a cup? Obviously, Quickie was unreal, godlike in both 12 and 14. Do you see a little bit of that in Markstrom with this Flames team, and will they go as far as he can carry them?
I definitely think that I don't think Markstrom is stealing games the way that Quickie did. One of the reasons that we had success, from really honestly from 2010 on with Quickie was that he was stealing games we didn't deserve to win. When you see Calgary winning games, they're winning games based on how well they're playing. It's a full team effort, and Markstrom is Markstrom is key to that. Obviously, if you had a guy with a 4.3 goals against average, you're not going to be doing very well. But his numbers are really, really good. Off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, in 2012, Quick's regular season save percentage was .940, or that may have been his playoff percentage. But I definitely see the ability for some really good play in the postseason. I mean, Markstrom's of his wins. I mean, of the wins that he has 31 wins. 30% of them are shutouts. Like he can definitely carry the team pretty deep.
Yeah, in the 2011-2012 season, Quick got the fifth vote in the Hart conversation, and so he had 10 shutouts that season, 195 goals against average, a 929 is just because the Kings didn't give up very many shots. He definitely was standing on his head for sure.
That's the breaker. That's the.
You muted yourself.
The late breaker there is the goals against average. Sorry.
Yeah. Kid making some introductions there. No worries. What do you guys think over there? Do you think Markstrom has what it takes to carry this team to the first cup since the 80s for you guys?
Oh man, I hope so. I mean, like you guys just alluded to.
You don't sound very convincing.
I mean, I hope so.
You really don't sound like
you.
You tell us how you really feel.
Like you guys said, I don't think Markstrom is as good as he's been this year. I think he is a product of the system, but he certainly, like we're seeing this year, he has the ability to put the team on his back and at least be the guy to stop pucks when the Flames give up 20 shots. Like their defensive game is incredible.
Yeah, that's a good point. The team in front of him not allowing those chances at least too often, like high danger chances or even shot suppression. Like I don't think Nikita Zadorov and Eric Goodbranson get enough credit. Maybe they do. Markstrom owes both of those guys a lot, I think, for the amount that they soak themselves before it gets to him. But I, for one, think that we saw it last year with the Montreal Canadiens and Carey Price making that run, and they got on his back and he carried them to a cup final where they probably shouldn't have been. I know it was an anomaly of a season and a bit of a different year, but let's face it, look at where the Canadiens are now and look who's out of the lineup. Carey Price hasn't played for them. I don't think he's played all year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Neither has Philip Deneau. We gladly took him.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just it, right? Like they lose a guy like Deneau, and we see the impact he's having in LA, and they got on the back of Carey Price there. So I definitely think that I do think that Markstrom can get up. He gets up for playoff games, man. Like he put up 50 save nights in Vancouver like it was nothing, and it's a bit of an easier workload for him here. But I think that he's going to get up for this playoffs, and the team's going to ride him to hopefully, like you said, the first cup since '89.
Yeah, all those Canadian fans that were trying to at me when we signed him that he wasn't going to score more than 5 goals. How's that?
You don't listen to
now.
Yeah,
how's that pizza taste
don't
now?
listen to that side. Don't listen to that part of. Don't listen to that side of Canada.
That may be what happened when you put him on the third line, but give him the space. Give him the space.
Don't listen to that side of Canada, especially the hockey fans.
Well, let's go to our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings for a little commercial break here. The NHL season has been packed with dirty dangles, hat tricks, and big wins. As the action rolls on, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has your shot to win big too. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right. A bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers free shot at millions of dollars in total cash prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. 21 years of age, restrictions apply. See show notes for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537 in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Wyoming. 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, New Hampshire, 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 877-770-STOP in Louisiana, 877-H or 8-467-369 in New York. Visit opgr.org in Oregon. Call or text Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee or 888-532-3500 in Virginia. 21 years of age need apply, or 18 or older in New Hampshire and Wyoming. Physically present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Wyoming, and West Virginia. Only minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Going in here, we're going with the deadline transactions. Obviously, you got the silky lettuce guy himself, Tyler Toffoli, coming over, helping you guys with some scoring. What did you guys think of that trade? And do you think you guys gave up too much, not enough? How was that working?
I'm super excited they got it. I was going to say, I'm super excited they got it done when they did. If Brad Treliving waited any longer or waited till the deadline, he would have been paying way more than he did. I don't think that it was an overpay whatsoever, especially for a guy who's got 2 years left after this deal. And we've seen the impact that he's made right away. It wasn't going to be a question either. Like the amount of connections that Tyler Toffoli had to this team, coming in, the obvious one being Daryl Sutter, played with Milan Lucic when he was a King. Trevor Lewis, we talk about that. I'm missing a whole laundry list. Sean Monahan, he played there in junior in Ottawa. We knew it was going to be a seamless fit. The price, obviously, that's the price you pay for. Not only, he's not even a rental. You don't even want to call him a rental because he's got 2 years left on his deal. You're paying for a guy with term. I don't think at all it was an overpay, James. I think we're kind of in the same boat there.
Yeah, like the common theme in Calgary has been that we've needed a top six right shot, right winger for 6 years, and Brad Treliving never gave us that gift, and then he did that on Valentine's Day and gave us all a little love there. So just like when you look at what Pittsburgh paid for Rickard Rakell and then you compare to what Calgary gave up for Toffoli and they got him for another 2 years, like such a great deal. And then as Auddie mentioned, like so many connections. You have Tanev and Markstrom in Vancouver as well, Vancouver when he was there too. And then the same with Calle Yarncroke, who they also added, who is cousins with Elias Lindholm, grew up with Jacob Markstrom, right? So, and another little cherry on top is that the LA Kings were in on both of them, and we stole them from you. So there you go.
Yeah, we kind of stayed pat there with us. Obviously we were rumored for Chychrun since Christmas. That gift never came, although the price for that gift definitely went up at the trade deadline from maybe 1 to 2 to 3 assets, and then it was 3 first-round picks. And so I think the Kings were fine playing the waiting game on that. And it was kind of a ballsy move, only going for depth because you don't really know what you're getting. The trade deadline came when we had 10 people injured. And so do you really want to make a big move and you don't know if these guys are going to come back and then that big move doesn't help you make the playoffs? Do you make too small of a move? But Troy Stetcher has been a definitely a quality add for a 7th round pick. Throwing pretty much nothing over there to Detroit to get him, and was really short of the defense. What do you think, Kiffin?
Yeah, I liked the Stetcher pickup. I think that it was good for us. I was one of the people, definitely, especially one of the hockey royalty people who was like, we got to go after Chikrin. Like, I was that guy. So, but when all was said and done, when it really came down to time to make that trade, like, he was hurt. We were so depleted, and I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't think we should pull the trigger. And then watching the price go up, I was one of the, I heard it live on the Sportsnet broadcast that the price suddenly went to 3 first-round picks, and I was like, oh, okay, well, we can wash our hands of that and move on, and things got crazy. And Stetcher was a great pickup, good depth. I liked him in Vancouver when he played with Edler, and now that he's playing with him again, it works. I'm glad that Toffoli's with the team that can contend. I've always liked Tyler Toffoli, and definitely Treliving making the trade when he did was beneficial, because that would have cost a lot of money or a lot of assets further on into the day.
Yeah, I think the Kings also, their deadline acquisitions was their prospect pool, right? They sent down Velarde, Kupari, back to marinate a little bit more in the AHL, brought them all 3 up, and that line has been buzzing. The champagne line, as we're calling it, and everything like that. And so it's been kind of the revelation there, getting that from our prospect pool, which is what we needed. And I didn't like the way it came about, and I know a lot of us at Hockey Royalty were kind of saying, hey, maybe we should trade away an Athanasiou or some guy to make room for some of these prospects to come up. And then Athanasiou would bury 3 goals in 4 games. And you're like, okay, we can't trade a hot guy, it just made it hard for us to do anything. But once people started going down with injuries, unfortunately that was the case, but fortunately it brought up a chance for Spence to show what he can do, brought a chance for the Champagne line to really blossom and see what that could be. Kupari has been using his skating fantastically, his size. They're chasing down pucks for Byfield. Velarde is a cerebral player. They're finally putting him on the power play. So it showed that maybe these guys marinating for the rain a little bit and coming up. And, that was our acquisition, was the 3 first-round picks that are supposed to be key players in our team producing at a level that is complementary on a third line. And our team hasn't skipped a beat in the fact that we're rolling 4 lines every night. And really until the last final 3 minutes or 2 minutes, they might shut it down or shorten the bench. But for the most part, they've been nonstop, not afraid to put those guys in situations. And you're looking at Jersey and Spence playing sometimes over 25 minutes a night. And they both have less than 100 games in the NHL. It's just been something to watch for Kings fans.
Yeah, your prospect pool is so incredibly dangerous, and I'm not looking forward to LA running the Pacific Division for like the next 10 years. Like Kopitar, Byfield, Danault down the middle, and then all those guys you mentioned. I am scared. Just straight up, I am scared.
If the Flames win a cup this year, all can be forgiven. I don't care.
True.
I don't care who runs the Pacific, as long as I can see the Flames win a cup in my lifetime.
Yeah, that's always the thing. Somebody asked me on it was for one of my other teams. Would you want to win one championship and then be awful for a decade after, or be like the best team in your division for 10 straight years but never win it?
I'll take that cup. I'll take that cup all day.
Yeah.
I'll take that cup all day, man.
Yeah,
not a doubt in my mind.
And then you guys can just
100%.
rub it in every Canadian team's face.
That's it. As long as I can throw it in, as long as I can spit in Leaf fans' faces, that's all that matters to me.
I mean, that's basically what we do as Kings fans too. The Ducks are like, we have a cup. We're like, yeah, we have 2 though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's merit to it. So if we can rub it into the rest of Canada, I'd be okay with it.
You brought up an interesting thing. Who's is that your most heated rival? Is the Leafs, or is it just because their fans are the most obnoxious, or how do you guys? Is it different for everybody up in Canada, or how does?
It's just for me. It's just being from Ontario, and I grew up just outside of Toronto. I'll admit it, and a lot of people on the podcast know I'm a Penguins fan first. Not the most popular guy on our show, that's for sure. But I'm a Penguins fan first and a Flames fan second. But growing up in Ontario, man, holy smokes, you don't get anything but Toronto media shoved down your throat. So for me, it's a product of my environment, just despising the Leafs. But for Calgary, the biggest rivalry is definitely Edmonton. The Battle of Alberta is just, it's something else.
So good.
It's
And
so
Vancouver.
good. Yeah.
The fireworks have died down over the last couple of games, and we need to ratchet that back up.
All I'm saying is, if I would not be opposed to a Battle of Alberta playoff matchup. So if anybody,
we'll take the first seed, and
we'll take
you
first.
Guys can have the second.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. If that's what no, you know what? Let's take it. Let's do a second round. Let's do a second round matchup. How about that? Second round Battle of Alberta.
I guess Vegas jump back into the
shit. We got so many different things we got to do, or that has to get done. But no, that you are right though. The fireworks of the Battle of Alberta definitely not what it used to be. The whole stay off the tracks with Matthew Tkachuk and Zach Kassian, and
so good.
It was definitely something before, and it's kind of died down a little bit, but still fun. Still fun to rub it into to our friends up north on the Highway 2 here. So it's nice to rub it into them.
Yeah, I have family in Sudbury, and they're split down the middle of their family between Leafs and Canadians. So,
oh yeah.
So going in, Kings and we mentioned a little bit Kings and the Flames locker room with the deadline. Obviously, Trevor Lewis, you have Toffoli, and obviously you're the head coach. You've said they fit seamlessly in. Do you think it's going to be beneficial to have guys like that who have won multiple cups, not only in the head coach, but in the locker room? I mean, I know Trevor Lewis isn't really doing much as far as on the score sheet, but he's, being that veteran presence. What have they brought to your team, and how do you think that'll benefit you guys in the playoffs?
Championship mentality. That's it. Just two words. It's, I think it was Blake Coleman who was either before the season or just slightly into the regular season, just talking about guys with a ring who, he wants to bring he didn't say that, he didn't, beat around the point and say that he's hopes to bring a championship. He said that we will bring a championship to Calgary. It's just that, that verbiage and that championship mentality. And I think that's something that even guys like Milan Lucic and, guys who've who've been there before and have won it, obviously Toffoli, Trevor Lewis, there's a whole laundry list of guys in that room who have won a Stanley Cup with other organizations. They know what it takes. They know what has to be done. And they can bring a lot. I think it's especially we haven't seen it yet, but we're gonna see it. Game one of the playoffs, I think, is when we're really gonna get a feel for it. And that's something that this team has been lacking in previous years in the playoffs, is just that playoff experience and that championship mentality. How many years have we seen Johnny Gaudreau just disappear in the playoffs? A guy who's going to put up over 100 points this year, and he's just nowhere to be found in the playoffs. So I think in more ways than one, it's going to help with the mentality, and it's going to get guys like that who have historically had bad playoffs. It'll get them off the skid a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it's a huge change from years past where we haven't had this many Stanley Cup winners on our team. And to go back to Daryl Sutter and his quotes, like, the thing I love about his post-game interviews is it's never about a single player or the regular season. Whenever he's asked about, Elias Lindholm and the Selke Trophy, when he was asked if that means anything, he was like, I don't care about regular season awards. The only award I care about is the Jennings, because that means we had like the lowest goals against or whatever. And it's that type of mentality that is so important to sports, where nothing matters but a championship to Daryl Sutter, and that will follow along to the players. And it's important to have, I think we have 4 guys that have played under Sutter in playoffs. So yeah, hugely beneficial.
Kiffin, if we can bring this to the Kings there, I know we made key trades at the deadline, bringing in Carter and Richards, but the main guy that was that drove, Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams, bringing those guys in that have cup experience and bringing them to an organization that was desperate for a cup in LA, not getting one in the Gretzky years. What did that mentality bring to the team, and how did you see the light bulb change from regular season hockey to Kings playoff hockey?
Yeah, so I'll say bringing those guys in changes the way you see it. Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7. There's no logical reason that that's a thing that he just like puts up points in Game 7, but you got him, and there was one year where we needed him. But I think what it does, and I can't remember what it was on, but there was an interview with Dustin Brown where he said when LA lost, when they lost in 2013 to Chicago, that was the first time that a lot of the guys in the room understood what they had just lost. They understood what losing in the playoffs really meant. And I think that's what Daryl Sutter did. He created an environment and a mentality where you started to understand the game. You started to see what the game really was, which was, it wasn't a nightly battle. It wasn't, a series. It was like minute to minute, moment to moment. To look back at that loss against Chicago in the Western Conference Final, that moment where Quickie came across and missed that shot when it went in, and that was the end of the series. He, I'm sure, sat there for a second and took it in, and he knew what had gone on. I think Doughty was the first guy back on that, and Drew Doughty knew what he had lost. And I think I'm a big believer in losing in the playoffs to start winning. The Oilers dynasty started with a loss in the Stanley Cup final to the Islanders, and then they came back around and beat them in the next year. So I'm a big believer in like learning what you're really playing for, and what you really could stand to lose is a big thing. Also, speaking of the Kings and the trade deadline, y'all didn't make Calgary didn't make a trade with Columbus, so clearly you're not going to win the cup, because you have to make a trade with Columbus at the deadline to win the cup.
We were pushing for one.
It's true.
We were pushing for some Columbus trades. It just never ended up happening.
There's a lot going on in Columbus that could be beneficial to anybody.
Oh, for sure.
So let's go to shaking out the Pacific here. Pretty tight. Let's go for the viewers that aren't looking at the standings as we speak. Calgary, 89 points with a couple games in hand. Kings at 86, Edmonton at 85, and then both wildcard teams at 82 with Dallas not far behind at 81. Calgary controls their own destiny, so to speak, with games in hand and in the top. Looking at their schedule, you like you guys mentioned it a little bit. A lot of games against bottom feeders, like Anaheim and the Sharks, Seattle, Chicago, but also some tough games. You got Vegas, Nashville twice, Dallas, Minnesota, and Winnipeg. You're gonna have to play some tough games here. How does that look down the stretch for you guys? And do you guys think you guys can finish with the number 1 seed?
I'd like to think so. I think they've done enough. They had the right start to kind of set themselves up for success later on this, where we are right now. I think the biggest thing is just not taking those games for granted. Those aren't penciled in wins by any stretch. These are still some competitive teams. I don't want to. I say the word competitive a little bit loosely there when we're talking about Seattle and even Chicago this year. But anything can happen. It's still the NHL, and there's a great amount of parity in this league, and just don't take those penciled in wins or those scheduled wins for granted. And just especially in those Nashville games too. Those are going to be big games because as it stands right now, that's a playoff matchup. So that's going to be some heavy hockey. We're going to see, potentially like 2 playoff games right then and there for those 2 games. So down the stretch, just don't take things for granted and come prepared when you're playing the likes of Nashville and even Dallas and Vegas for that matter.
Yeah, you said it best right there. You have to come prepared. We've seen what I thought would be easy games against like a Buffalo and other teams like that, and the Flames have lost them. They haven't played up to their opponent or played down to their opponent, or however you want to say it. But I think Calgary holds on to the division. I hope they do, because it would mean so much to everybody in Calgary to win this division. But I don't know, like Calgary's been on a bit of a losing streak here, and if they continue to not play up to this like extremely hard schedule coming up, and there's a lot of games, and especially this Pacific road trip right now, like these are games you have to win, and I hope they can do it because like them and LA both have pretty easy strengths of schedule from what I've seen, and Edmonton has a pretty tough schedule remaining. So it's going to be either Calgary or LA for the division, and I hope Calgary can keep it.
Yeah, you're looking at LA is coming in with a couple hard games here coming up. Obviously, Calgary tonight. We play Edmonton at home, then at Minnesota, and then at Chicago, which they took us to overtime, and at Colorado. So some tough games right away. But then we have 2 games against the Ducks, another game against Chicago, Seattle, and Vancouver. So definitely ending the season with a little bit easier stretch there. As far as you guys in the first round, who do you think you guys match up best with all the potential wild card opportunities?
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
I'd probably say Nashville, but at the same time, UC Saros can steal a series, and I'm scared of that. Dallas, they have come on and they beat us in 2020, so I'm kind of scared of them. Honestly, I'd probably say we match up the best against Edmonton because I don't like their goaltending. I don't like their defense. I don't think they will be that much of a threat come the postseason like we saw last year when they got swept. So, yeah, I'd say Edmonton.
Yeah, I'm probably there with you. I was just taking a look. Like, Vegas gets in, I don't think I want to play them because we're gonna magically see everybody come off of LTIR, and they're gonna have a lot of fun there, aren't they? I'd want to stay away from Dallas. Nashville, again, like you said, I'd like to play Nashville, I think. But like you mentioned about Saros, I think Edmonton is probably most desired in more ways than one. Not the most realistic, but probably the most desired. Everybody's begging for a Battle of Alberta first round if that's at all possible. But yeah, probably I would say probably the likes of. But then again, like I don't know, because Winnipeg could maybe do something here too, but that's highly unlikely. So the 2 wildcard teams now, Nashville, Vegas. I'm probably taking Nashville out of those two. Probably Nashville or Edmonton. I don't know. It's tricky because I don't really like. You have all this faith in this team in the regular season, but they haven't it's a what have you done for me lately kind of thing, right? Like we haven't seen playoff success in this city for quite some time. So there's a bit of skepticism there as much as everybody has, betting favorites and the Calgary Flames are, high up there on the list of teams to make a run. Getting out of that first round is going to be huge. So to answer a brief question as long as possible, something I'm very good at, give me the Nashville Predators. I think that we can break down UC Saros.
I'm here for that Vegas Colorado series. Like that's what I'm here for. That would be fantastic to watch.
Yeah, they get if they get that $40 million off LTIR or whatever they have, and then that team's a wagon waiting to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Kiffin, as far as the team right now, it's a high percentage chance that we play Edmonton. How do you feel about that matchup? And then if Vegas were to creep up into that third spot, how would you feel about that matchup?
So I actually wrote a piece for Hockey Royalty about this. I would say absolutely. I worked really hard on that one. I would say that I would rather us play Vegas, to be honest. I think we have the advantage. Oh, hang on one second. I'm sorry.
Why he helps with that? I think the Vegas is going to be interesting because they might not all mesh right away, and so that's interesting. But we also have a lot of guys coming off of IR. Doughty and Roy. And so if they're back towards the end of the month, I think we do match up better with Edmonton, but continue Kiffin going on your point.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I wrote that piece, like Vegas hadn't like all the craziness with their LTIR hadn't happened, but I definitely see us taking Vegas in 6 games. I think it would be a much better series for us. And oh my God.
Got house cleaning there.
Yeah, Vegas is my answer. Good Lord.
Sorry about that there, listeners. You got some house cleaning going on in Texas for Kiffin. I think Edmonton is something that looks for us as like their goalie is a little bit weaker. The Kings have that high shot mentality, but our shooting percentage isn't that great. I think we match up well with them and going in that direction. And then their defense isn't that solid. They're hitting a little bit more. And we've seen it, if McDavid and Draisaitl go cold even for a couple games, that's all you need for you to take over that series. And not saying that they will, because I think it's going to be hard for McDavid to go blank his entire career. And I think one playoff, he's just going to go, total Super Saiyan or something like that, for all the nerds out there. It's going to be something interesting, but I think we do match up better with Edmonton. And I think the fact that if you can get Colorado or Vegas to knock out Colorado, or Colorado to knock out Vegas, I think that makes it easier route for both of our teams to make it out of the West.
It's an easier route for any team not having to play Colorado. Well, actually, yeah. Let me amend an answer from earlier in this episode, the Daryl Sutter, where he said, "What did he say?"
About Colorado.
I want to stay in first. Who wants to play Colorado? What a waste of 8 days.
Yeah. So good.
I forgot about that one. That was classic though. That's so good.
Well, it was a pleasure having you guys on. Let's get some predictions for tonight. What do you think you guys are going to see tonight? Let's start with Kiffin.
I'm thinking 4-2 LA. We got the steam right now. We're doing well. I think it's 3-2 with an empty netter.
Okay.
I'll go. I'm gonna go 5-2 Flames. And I think that's gonna come at the hands of 2 empty netters. But the Flames on a bit of a skid here. They need to bounce back. They've played well on the road all year. And I think that a road trip is just what this team needs. And I think this is where that 3-game skid comes to an end.
I'm going to say 4-3 LA. Oof. I want to predict the Flames to win, but they're on a bit of a skid here. They could easily win the game, but I'll predict an LA win because I'm scared of LA.
I was going to predict a Calgary win, but I was like, I don't want to be the contrarian, but you pick that up for me, James.
Since James bit the bullet, I'm going to go. I think it's going to be 3-2. Kings, we'll go Kings there, but I think it's going to be 3-2 game. I don't think there's going to be that much scoring. I think both goalies play really well. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a big 2 points either way. I could definitely see the Kings have been, I think they had 10 overtime games in this last month or something along those nature. So I could definitely be a 3-point game coming in, which would really, it just benefits the Kings either way. Not getting into first place, but separating themselves from Edmonton, I think is the most important thing for them to hang on and try to bite, if they can bite a little bit more out of the apple and get a 2-0 on the point skid or a 4-point swing. Definitely benefit, because you always want to go for that first place when you can, because I think that would probably seal it for Todd McClellan to get the Jack Adams Coach of the Year if the Kings get first place.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
100%.
Well, as always, I'll let you guys plug. Where can they find you guys on Twitter? Obviously, you guys, your names are here on visually, but for all the listeners there, where can you find you guys on Twitter? And as far as your podcast.
I guess I'll go. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Auddie James, AUDDIE, and then James for the show. It's at BarnBurner Show on Twitter. We're also affiliated with the Hockey Podcast Network, much like yourselves. So you can just head over to their website and click on our little logo there, and it'll bring you to our Calgary Flames talk.
Yeah, as for myself, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram or anything at James Johnson YYC. And like Auddie said, you can find the podcast at BarnBurner Show or pretty much anywhere if you look up the BarnBurner Hockey Podcast. And yeah, thanks for having us on. This was a lot of fun to do a little crossover.
And Kiffin, where can they find you, my man?
You can find me on Twitter at McGinnis Teaches.
And I'm at Rando Commando 24. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys on. I want to do more of these crossovers. Maybe if we meet in the playoffs, we can do a little playoff preview.
Heck yeah.
And get that going there. For all of our articles here at Hockey Royalty, you can go to hockeyroyalty.com. We have shop and merch there. YouTube is just search Hockey Royalty there. At Hockey_Royalty on Twitter. Pleasure, boys, have coming on. It's time to get some beers in our hands and watch a little bit of some good hockey tonight.
Let's do it. It's going to be a good one. Thanks, boys.
Good luck tonight, boys.
All right, catch you.